201. The Lion and the Frog. A lion, hearing a frog croak, roared back, thinking that such a sound must come from some large creature. He waited for a while, then saw the creature emerge from a pond, went up to it, and crushed it with his foot, saying, "So much noise from one so small." This fable applies to people who are all noise and have no substance to them. 202. The Lion and the Dolphin. A lion was roaming along the seashore when he saw a dolphin raise its head up out of the waves. The lion proposed an alliance of friendship between them. "You and I are most suited to be friends and allies," he said, "for I am the king of all the beasts on the land, and you are the ruler of all the creatures of the sea." The dolphin willingly agreed. Then the lion, who had for a long time been at war with a wild bull, called out for the dolphin to come and help him. The dolphin tried to leave the water but failed to do so. The lion accused him of betraying him, but the dolphin replied, "Don't blame me, blame Mother Nature. For although she has made me aquatic, she has not allowed me to walk on the land." This shows that we too, when we contract alliances, ought to do so with people who can really come to our aid in times of danger. 203. The Lion and the Wild Boar. In summer, when the heat brings on thirst, a lion and a wild boar went to drink at a little spring. They argued about who should drink first, and the quarrel escalated into a life and death struggle. But, stopping for a moment to catch their breath in the midst of their combat, they noticed some vultures waiting nearby to devour whichever one fell first. So, putting aside their hostility, they said, "It would be better to become friends than to serve as food for vultures and ravens. It is better to put an end to quarrels and rivalries, for otherwise all parties will suffer." 204. The Lion and the Hare. A lion, having come across a sleeping hare, was about to eat it, but just at that moment it caught sight of a deer, so he left the hare and gave chase to the deer. The hare, awoken by the noise, took flight. The lion, having followed the deer for some distance without being able to catch up, went back for the hare, but he found that it had gone. "It serves me right," he said. "I forfeited the meal I had right at hand for the hope of a better catch." Thus, at times men, instead of being content with moderate profits, pursue fantastic prospects, and, in so doing, foolishly let go of what they have in their hands. 205. The Lion, the Wolf, and the Fox. A very old lion lay ill in his cave. All the animals came to pay their respects to their king except for the fox. The wolf, sensing an opportunity, accused the fox in front of the lion. "The fox has no respect for you or your rule. That's why he hasn't even come to visit you." Just as the wolf was saying this, the fox arrived, and he overheard these words. Then the lion roared in rage at him, but the fox managed to say in his own defense, "And who, of all those who have gathered here, has rendered your majesty as much service as I have done? For I have traveled far and wide, asking physicians for a remedy for your illness, and I have found one." The lion demanded to know at once what cure he had found, and the fox said, "It is necessary for you to flay a fox alive, and then take his skin and wrap it around you while it is still warm." The wolf was ordered to be taken away immediately and flayed alive. As he was carried off, the fox turned to him with a smile and said, "You should have spoken well of me to his majesty rather than ill." This fable shows that if you speak ill of someone, you yourself will fall into a trap. 206. The Lion and the Mouse Who Returned a Kindness. Once a lion was asleep and a mouse ran all along his body. The lion woke up with a start, seized the mouse, and was about to eat him when the mouse begged him to spare his life, promising that he would repay the favor. The lion was so amused at this that he let the little fellow go. Not very long afterwards, the mouse was able to return the favor. For, as a matter of fact, some hunters caught the lion and tied him to a tree with a rope. The mouse heard him groaning, ran up, and gnawed through the rope until the lion was free. "You see," squeaked the mouse, "not long ago you mocked me when I said I would return your favor, but now you can see that even mice are grateful." This fable shows how, through the changes of fortune, the strong can come to depend on the weak. 207. The Lion and the Wild Ass. A lion and a wild ass entered into an agreement to hunt wild beasts together. The lion was to use his great strength, while the ass would make use of his greater speed. When they had taken a certain number of animals, the lion divided up the spoils into 3 portions. "I'll take the first share because I am the king," he said. "The second share will be mine because I have been your partner in the chase," he said. "As for the third share," he said to the wild ass, "this share will be a great source of harm to you, believe me, if you do not yield it up to me. And, by the way, get lost." It is suitable always to calculate your own strength and not to enter into an alliance with people stronger than yourself. 208. The Lion and the Ass hunting together. The lion and the ass, having a pact between them, were out together hunting. Arriving at a cave where there were wild goats, the lion posted himself at the entrance to lie in wait for them to leave, while the ass went inside and started leaping about and braying in their midst to make them flee. When the lion had taken the largest of the wild goats, the ass came out and asked him if he hadn't bravely fought and pushed the goats outside. The lion replied, "I can assure you that even I would have been scared to death if I hadn't known that you were an ass." Thus, people who boast in front of those who know them deservedly lend themselves to mockery. 209. The Lion, the Ass, and the Fox. The lion, the ass, and the fox, having made an agreement together, went off hunting for game. When they had taken plenty of game, the lion asked the ass to divide the spoils between them. The ass divided the food into 3 equal parts and invited the lion to choose his portion. The lion became enraged, pounced on the ass, and devoured him. Then the lion asked the fox to divide the spoils. The fox took all that he had accumulated and gathered it into one large heap, retaining only the tiniest possible morsel for himself. He then invited the lion to choose. The lion then said, "Well, my good fellow, who taught you to divide so well? You are excellent at it." The fox replied, "I learned this information from the ass's misfortune." This fable shows that we learn from the misfortunes of others. 210. The Lion, Prometheus, and the Elephant. The lion was always complaining to Prometheus. Without doubt, Prometheus had made him large and handsome. He had armed him with a mouthful of teeth, equipped him with claws, and made him stronger than all the other animals. "But Prometheus," said the lion, "I am absolutely terrified of cockerels." Prometheus said, "How can you accuse me so readily? I've given you all the qualities which I have myself. Your courage never fails you, except in this one instance." "Oh, I know," the lion groaned. "I feel such a fool. I'm such a hopeless coward. Oh, I wish I could just die. I'm so ashamed." But just as he was in that frame of mind, the lion saw an elephant nearby and went over to have a chat with him about this and that. As they were talking, the lion noticed that the elephant kept twitching his ears. "What's wrong?" asked the lion. "Can't you keep your ears still for one moment?" At that very moment a gnat settled on the head of the elephant. "Oh my God!" said the elephant. "Do you see that? There, that little buzzing insect there. If it were to get into my ears, why, I'd be finished. That would be the end of me. I'd die, you know." "Well," said the lion to himself, "I don't feel so bad anymore. And to think I was wishing myself dead for shame. In fact, I'm big and strong and much better off than the elephant, since a cockerel is much more frightening than a gnat." One sees that the gnat is strong enough to make even an elephant fearful. 211. The Lion and the Bull. A lion wanted to hunt down a bull, so he decided to use a trick to try to get hold of him. He told him that he had sacrificed a sheep and he invited the bull to the feast, his intention being to kill him when he was reclining on his side to eat. The bull accepted the invitation, but, seeing the huge spits and giant cauldrons, but no sheep, he departed without saying a word. The lion reproached him as to why, having suffered no harm, he left without reason. "Oh, I have my reasons," said the bull. "I see no sign of your having slaughtered a sheep, but I do see very plainly that you have made every preparation for dining on beef." This fable shows that you should trust your own eyes rather than sweet words and reassurances. 212. The Raging Lion and the Stag. A lion was enraged, and a stag, who saw him from the forest, called out, "Woe betide us! What won't this lion do in his fury when he was already intolerable in a calm frame of mind?" Avoid hot-headed men who are accustomed to doing harm when they come to power. 213. The Lion Who Was Afraid of a Mouse and the Fox. There was a lion lying asleep one day when a mouse ran all the way up his body. The lion awoke with a start and rolled over and over, trying to find out what or who it was that had attacked him. A fox who had seen all this rebuked him for being afraid. He, a lion, afraid of a mouse, to which the lion replied, "It isn't that I was afraid of the mouse, but I was most surprised that there was anyone at all who could be so bold as to run along the body of a sleeping lion." This fable shows that wise men don't ignore even the little things. 214. The Bandit and the Mulberry Tree. A bandit who had killed a man on the road saw that he was being pursued by some people who happened to be nearby. So he abandoned his blood-stained victim and fled. But some travelers who were coming in the opposite direction asked him what had made his hands so stained. He said he had just climbed down from a mulberry tree. When he said this, the people who were pursuing him caught up with him, seized him, and hung him from a nearby mulberry tree. And the tree said to him, "I am not sorry to assist with your punishment. You are the one who committed the murder, and yet you wipe the blood on me." Even naturally good men, when they see themselves slandered, do not hesitate to show spite towards those who have slandered them. 215. The Wolves and the Dogs at War. One day, enmity broke out between the dogs and the wolves. The dogs elected a Greek to be their general, but he was in no hurry to engage in battle, despite the violent intimidation of the wolves. "Understand," he said to them, "why I deliberately put off engagement. It is because one must always take counsel before acting. The wolves, on the one hand, are all of the same race, all of the same color, but our soldiers have very varied habits, and each one is proud of his own country. Even their colors are not uniform. Some are black, some russet, and others white or ash gray. How can I lead into battle those who are not in harmony and who are all dissimilar?" In all armies, it is unity of will and purpose which assures victory over the enemy. 216. The Dogs Reconciled with the Wolves. The wolves said to the dogs, "Why, when you are so like us in all respects, don't we come to some brotherly understanding? For there is no difference between us except our ways of thinking. We live in freedom. You submit and are enslaved by man and endure his blows. You wear collars and you watch over their flocks, and when your masters eat, all they throw to you are some bones. But take our word for it, if you hand over the flocks to us, we can all club together and gorge our appetites jointly." The dogs were sympathetic to this proposal, so the wolves, making their way inside the sheepfold, tore the dogs to pieces. Such is the reward that traitors who betray their fatherland deserve. 217. The Wolves and the Sheep. Some wolves were trying to surprise a flock of sheep. Unable to be masters of the situation because of the dogs which were guarding them, they resolved to use a ruse to get their desired end. They sent some delegates to ask the sheep to give up their dogs. It was the dogs, they said, who created the bad blood between them. One only had to surrender the dogs and peace would reign between them. The sheep, not foreseeing what would happen, gave up the dogs, and the wolves, being in control of the situation, easily slaughtered the sheep who were no longer guarded. This is the case with states. Those who easily surrender up their orators cannot doubt that they will very soon be subjugated by their enemies. 217. The wolves and the sheep. Some wolves were trying to surprise a flock of sheep. Unable to be masters of the situation because of the dogs which were guarding them, they resolved to use a ruse to reach their desired end. They sent some delegates to ask the sheep to give up their dogs. It was the dogs, they said, who created the bad blood between them. One only had to surrender the dogs and peace would reign between them. The sheep, not foreseeing what would happen, gave up the dogs, and the wolves, being in control of the situation, easily slaughtered the sheep who were no longer guarded. This is the case with states. Those who easily surrender up their orators cannot doubt that they will very soon be subjugated by their enemies. 218. The wolves, the sheep, and the ram. The wolves sent some envoys to the sheep, offering to make a lasting peace with them if they surrendered up their dogs to be put to death. The stupid sheep agreed to it, but an old ram exclaimed, "How should I accept that idea and live with you when, even when we were guarded by the dogs, it was impossible for me to graze in safety?" We must not part with that which assures our safety in making faith with our irreconcilable enemies. 219. The wolf, proud of his shadow, and the lion. One day a wolf was wandering in some uninhabited regions at the hour when the sun sinks low down towards the horizon. Seeing his elongated shadow, he said, "Look at that! With my stature, should I fear the lion? With such an immense size, should I not become the king of all the animals?" And as he was fully given up to pride with this thought, a lion of great strength suddenly leapt upon him and devoured him. The wolf changed his opinion and cried, "Presumption brings us misfortune." 220. The wolf and the goat. A wolf espied a nanny goat grazing above a cave on a sheer cliff face. Unable to reach her, he urged her to come down, for she could, he said, inadvertently fall. Furthermore, the meadow down below where he was standing was much better pasture, for the grass there was lush. But the goat replied, "It's not for my benefit that you summon me to that pasture. It is because it is you who have nothing to eat." Thus, when cunning scoundrels exert their wickedness among people whom they know, they gain nothing by their machinations.